When I first pulled into the neighborhood, I thought I'd found peace. Rows of neat houses lined the cul-de-sac, their manicured lawns trimmed like soldiers in formation. It felt safe, orderly, almost too perfect. After years of noisy apartments, I told myself this would be home, a fresh start. But perfection has a way of hiding rot beneath its surface. My assigned parking spot was painted bright white, the number stenciled freshly into the asphalt. It sat directly in front of my townhouse, a small convenience, but one I cherished. Yet on that very first night, someone else was already parked there. A gleaming silver SUV polished so clean it reflected the streetlight like a mirror. I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a guest, maybe confusion. The next morning, though, I met her. She stood outside like she was on patrol, arms crossed, lips pressed thin. Blonde hair pinned back tightly, HOA badge dangling from a lanyard around her neck, as if she were some kind of sheriff. "That spot," she said, before I even introduced myself. Her voice was sharp, rehearsed, like she'd said it 100 times before. "That one's mine." "Always has been," I frowned, fumbling with the keys in my hand. "The paperwork says—" She cut me off with a laugh, low and mocking. "Paperwork doesn't mean history. I've lived here 10 years. Everyone knows that spot belongs to me. You're new, so you wouldn't understand." Her SUV gleamed in the morning sun, as if to prove her claim. My own car sat awkwardly across the street, crammed between two overgrown hedges. That night I lay awake, replaying her words. It wasn't just a parking spot. It was a warning, a line drawn in asphalt. And when I looked out the window, her SUV was still there, waiting. I didn't know it yet, but that was the first crack in the dream. The first hint that this neighborhood wasn't built on peace, but on control. The second week in the neighborhood stripped away whatever illusions I had left. Each morning I walked to my car with a knot in my stomach, already dreading what Karen had left behind. At first, it was just handwritten notes tucked under my wipers. Incorrect parking procedure. Too close to the curb. Unsightly vehicle placement. Her handwriting was sharp and jagged, every word underlined as though she were carving her authority into paper. But soon the notes turned into official HOA violation slips, printed and stamped, slipped into bright orange envelopes so all the neighbors could see. One evening, I returned from work to find her standing in front of my car, phone in hand, snapping photos from every angle. The flash lit up the driveway like a crime scene. "Documentation," she said casually, lowering the phone. "Rules exist for a reason. Maybe this community isn't the right fit for you." Her smile was small, deliberate, the kind of smile that says, "I win." I tried to argue once at an HOA meeting inside the community hall. The room smelled of old coffee and disinfectant, neighbors seated in neat rows while Karen stood confidently at the front. She listed my infractions in detail, late trash bins, weeds in the yard, even the way I parked half an inch over a faded white line. Every time I spoke to defend myself, she spoke louder, drowning me out with faux concern. And the neighbors, they didn't laugh, didn't whisper. They just sat with their tight-lipped smiles, eyes sliding away from mine. Nobody wanted to cross her. At night, I stopped sleeping. I'd lie awake, staring through the blinds at the silver SUV parked in my spot, headlights catching the street lamp like watchful eyes. I began to memorize her patterns, when she left for work, when she walked her dog, when she circled the lot as if inspecting her kingdom. That's when I realized this wasn't pettiness, it was control. She didn't just want the spot. She wanted me broken, humiliated, small. And something in me shifted. I began watching her not as a victim, but as a hunter, studying prey. By the third month, my life revolved around Karen. Every move I made felt like it was under her scrutiny, every step a potential infraction. Still, I told myself I could endure it. Until the night of the patrol meeting. The community centre was nearly empty, lit only by flickering fluorescent bulbs that buzzed faintly overhead. Folding chairs scraped against the floor as neighbours gathered in uneven rows. I tried to sink into the back, invisible, but Karen spotted me instantly. She always did. She strode to the front with her clipboard, her voice sharp and carrying across the room. "Once again," she began, "we need to address ongoing rule violations." Her eyes landed on me like a spotlight. "Some residents," she continued, "just can't seem to follow basic community guidelines." Murmurs rippled through the room. My face burned as she recited a list of petty complaints. My recycling bin placed out too early, my headlights supposedly disturbing neighbours, my car lowering property value. Each accusation was punctuated by her smirk, a dagger twisted in public. I tried to speak, but she cut me off with a laugh that echoed against the tiled walls. "Maybe," she said, her tone dripping with mock sympathy, "this community isn't the right fit for you." The room chuckled with her, not cruelly, but out of habit, because Karen's approval was currency here, and I had none. Something cracked inside me then. Rage flooded in, hot and heavy, but beneath it was something colder. Clarity. As the meeting ended and chairs folded away, I stayed seated, my fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. When the hall emptied, I whispered to myself, barely audible over the buzzing lights, "She took everything from me, but I'll take it back." That night I began digging. Property records, financial slips, whispers of unpaid debts, and there it was. The truth, buried in documents she hoped no one would ever read. The spot she fought for wasn't even hers. And for the first time I smiled. The discovery burned in my mind like a secret weapon. The spot Karen claimed as hers had never belonged to her at all. She'd bullied the HOA for years, manipulating fear and silence, but legally, it was community property, and I knew exactly how to turn that truth against her. My plan unfolded quietly, almost surgically. Anonymous complaints slipped into the HOA's inbox, citations drafted in the same language Karen had once used against me. Documents filed, carefully forged, weaving a paper trail that painted her as reckless, negligent, unfit to hold authority. It was astonishing how quickly the board turned when the right pressure was applied. Weeks later, the blow landed. An official notice pinned to her door, stamped and sealed, her parking rights revoked. She ignored it at first. Of course she did. Karen had built her life on the belief that rules bent around her. But when the tow truck arrived, steel chains rattling in the night, reality hit hard. I stood across the street, half hidden in shadow, as her silver SUV was lifted from the asphalt. She screamed, her voice shattering the quiet neighborhood. "You can't do this. That's my spot. It's mine." Neighbors peeked from their curtains, some whispering, some smirking. For once, she was the spectacle, not me. The driver ignored her. The SUV disappeared into the night, taillights fading like dying embers. Karen turned then, eyes blazing, and spotted me watching. "You'll regret this," she spat, her voice raw, trembling with fury. "You know better than me." I stepped forward, just enough for the streetlight to catch my face. My reply was steady, colder than I expected. "I don't need to be better. I just need to win." Her expression faltered, just for a moment, and then she stormed off into the dark, forced to park her car a mile away. I should have felt relief, victory. But instead I found myself staring at the empty spot long after everyone else went inside. Under the glow of the street lamp, it looked less like justice served and more like a trophy. one I couldn't stop watching. And in that silence, I wondered if Karen had really lost, or if she had simply remade me in her image.